Welcome to DevSecOps, the good, the bad, and the ugly. My name is Zach Knord, and I am your host. This videocast series is about all things DevOps, but we do place an emphasis on making sure security is a part of that practice. Today, I have with me Jeffry Hesse, and Jeffry Hesse is actually teaching my wife how to code in Golang. He's leading a group in the evenings, almost every evening actually, where they're getting together and learning how to code. Sarah, I believe, is 5 weeks in, so definitely appreciative to everything Jeffrey's done. So if you know anybody that is in the Golang ecosystem, please tag them because they'll want to follow Jeffrey in general, but also he's going to be talking about one of the open source projects that he works on called Nancy. And Nancy is a vulnerability scanner to where you can scan your project and determine if any of your libraries have known vulnerabilities in it. But to start things off, Jeffrey, can you talk about how you got started in teaching a group how to code?
Try and think about things that I can do that are good in the world, and I live in the middle of nowhere, so it's difficult to contribute sometimes to the things that you really want to do. And I don't know how to sew face masks, so that kind of puts me at a loss there. And I know quite a bit about Golang thanks to professional experience at Sonatype and just being interested in general, and kind of started out with just a couple of my friends who are laid off, don't have jobs, and we're like
Yeah.
want to explore something new. And pretty soon, next thing I knew, there's like 15 people showing up randomly to learn Golang from me. So it's been a ton of fun getting to share that experience with people and give them kind of the skills to hopefully open up a new career for themselves later, that type of deal.
No, absolutely. And I know my wife has been thrilled for you doing that. We're already trying to give that back by teaching some other folks as well.
That's
Yeah,
the best thing you can do. Pay it forward.
there you go. So Jeffrey, to jump right into the interview, can you give a brief overview of what you do at Sonatype?
I manage, work, whatever you want to call it, on a team called Developer Experience. And we build a lot of things with the intent in mind, helping out developers explicitly. And so recently we've spent a lot of time working on tools that focus on OSS index, such as Nancy, which I think we'll talk about today.
Yep. No, that's great. Yeah. And how I explain it, Jeff, right? You work on all the stuff that we give out to the community, right? The free solutions that people can take advantage of. So with
I'm
that,
the altruistic arm of Sonatype.
right, which is a great job to have, right? Where you can just give stuff away for free. So, so with that, you've created a tool to help Golang developers develop securely. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, I didn't create it. As it's good to start there. As Nancy was actually created by a guy named Ken Duck. He's the guy that created OSS Index back in the day, and he was like, "Oh, it'd be really cool if we could scan Golang projects." And he created something cool that did that. And then he was like, "Hey, Jeffrey, why don't you come in and be my glorified janitor?" and
Right.
which is more or less what I end up doing most of the time, is just going in, making sure that the code's a little bit better, it's organized better, it's tested, and so I helped out with doing that. And I think that history gets rewritten often or whatnot. I'm kind of the person that works on the project the most, so people are like, "Oh, this is the guy that created it," and it's like, no, it was all Ken.
I appreciate you giving credit where credit's due. So tell us what does Nancy do then?
So Nancy will, depending on the type of project you have, it works with two different types of projects. It works with DEP-powered projects because DEP was kind of the official experiment back in the day for Golang and dependency management.
Right.
And it also works with the new way that they moved forward and like newer versions of Go is called Go Mod. So it'll work with either types of those projects and take the list of the dependencies that you are bringing in, so the libraries that you want to use, whether that be Gin or Go YAML or any of, TOML, all these different libraries. It takes all those and it will take them and send them over to OSS Index, and then eventually, get back a report based on that. Like, okay, are there any known CVEs filed against this? Are there any known, vulnerabilities filed against these, these libraries in this version range? And the end result of it is that you start getting insight. You get insight A into your software bill of materials. So like everything that you're consuming that's outside of your application. And then B, you get to know, like, am I using something that's using something bad? Which
Right.
is often the case, is like you end up, I find, most of the time is like the dependencies that end up being vulnerable are actually the ones that are buried.
Yep.
They're not, Jin or like Toml or something like that probably doesn't have the vulnerability. They're probably using something else that does.
Yep.
And so it's neat to get that sort of insight.
Yep. And this is free, this tool. That developer.
Absolutely,
Yep.
completely free. You can use it anonymously, which is really neat.
Yep. That's great. Would you would you be able to share your screen and show us anything, or
Absolutely. Starting out here is like we do use OSS Index as the base where we get all this information. OSS Index is a service that's available. It's not just isolated to Golang. It covers almost any ecosystem I can think of. As
Okay.
Ken and I have been pretty vigorous with with adding these. We'll be like, I have this crazy idea for a tool. Da-da-da-da-da-da. All right, now it works on OSS Index.
Right.
So Nancy is just but one of those. You could use quite a few others. If you look at scan your dependencies here, is like there's a link to like all these different things that you can use, and they're all native to each ecosystem, which is the nice part. Is as a developer, we've really tried to do that. Is we wanted to come up with tools that worked the best in those ecosystems.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Nancy is by intent hopefully the best scanner out there for Golang. It's also open source, which is really neat. Is show that off real quick. Is here's the actual GitHub repo for it. It's licensed Apache. You can come in and work with us. If you do come in and work with us, there is a Gitter for it. It's pretty fun. It's a vibrant ecosystem. There's a bunch of really cool people working on it in addition to me. But what I'll show you really quick is how you would use Nancy just kind of initially. So I'll run Nancy on itself. And so this go list -m all command that I'm running and piping to Nancy is we just ran that command just on its own. As we get every dependency that's being used on the project as well as its version.
Awesome.
From that, Nancy by itself, if we rerun this again, we see golang -m all / Nancy. Doesn't find anything because we keep Nancy pretty Spartan in that regard. Is like if we find a vulnerability, we fix it. Nothing gets merged to a master. If we do find one, we either fix it or we ignore it. We say, okay, well, we're not vulnerable to this, and we'll go ahead and ignore it. But let's go ahead and add to the go mod file. Going to this require list, I'm going to add golang.org, xcrypto, and this very specific version of it, because xcrypto did have a known vulnerability against it. So I go ahead and run go list -m all / Nancy again. And there we get this. We end up getting told, okay, xcrypto does have one known vulnerability against it affecting that installed version. It happens to be this CVE, use of insufficiently random values, and it gives you some information on that. In addition to that, you get a link to OSS Index that you can go to where you can get more information on it. You can get the just how bad it is, what everything's affected. It looks like this is not the only package that is affected by it. There's quite a few other things. It looks like crypto Argon too.
Okay. Yeah.
You can get some more information on this. You get the CVSS vector, common vulnerability scoring system calculator.
Okay.
Kind of seeing, like what's the attack vector, what's the attack complexity, like how hard is this for somebody to attack me, what privileges do they need, but we provide all this information to you so that you can make these decisions yourself.
Hey, awesome, Jeffrey. I appreciate it. We're coming up on time. So if you know anybody that's in the Golang ecosystem, please let them know about this video cast by commenting below. Give us a like, and we do appreciate it. Have a good one.